So I kind of messed up there, but what else is new, eh, guys? So anyway, here's all the XAML. I'll just quickly talk about it once more. So remember, we added our namespace up here for our models folder, so when we talk about an employee or department, you can understand what it is in the XAML of the page. We just have a main grid for the layout of the page, a couple of row definitions, a stack panel just at the top to put company application, just a bit of text, as we can see right over here. Then we have a content panel where we're going to actually manipulate the data itself. Again, the same 2 row definitions, something at the top. Later on, we'll be adding ones we can put some buttons at the bottom for things like adding a new and so on. But for now, I'll just leave it as it is. So the next thing that was kind of interesting here is we're going to put a stack panel in the topmost row right here with basically a text box saying employees by department and a combo box. Combo box is a nice control that came along with the Windows 10 Universal, okay, much nicer than what we had or we're stuck with just the phone application development. And it basically, we're going to encode, provide a data source, an item source for it. The one key property to note here is the display member path, right? So this is the property of the objects that we're going to assign to as a collection to this that we want to actually display in the drop-down list, right? I should mention one other thing I did throw in here. We have an event for selection changed. These are nice events. They've really done a good job in Windows 10 Universal here because it doesn't matter whether we clicked, whether we use our finger to touch it, or we use some keystroke combination. It doesn't matter, the selection changed. We don't have to worry about that. The other thing I did add was placeholder text, just so there's something when the thing first appears on the screen while we're waiting for the data to actually come from the server asynchronously. Okay, so that's our drop-down list. Okay, and then below that stack panel, we're just throwing in a list box. Just again to quickly summarize, list box and grid view. Those are our 2 most commonly used data presentation controls. They both allow for a template to show certain information about the collections of data that you're representing. Listbox was a little simpler and easier to get up and going. That's why I chose it for now. Notice that there's an item template and a data template, right? So here's our data type. So this is where we're using that namespace at the top to let it know what our models are. So I'm saying that every list item here has a data template to correspond to my employee object. That way it can pre-compile and know all the different things about what an employee is, what its properties are, and it's very fast. The stack panel just has 2 text boxes to show. I'm not going to try in this quick list of data to show all the information about an employee, right? Probably don't even want to show it all because it would be too cluttered on the screen. Just some summary information, and you'll notice that these properties I'm showing here happen to be summary properties. I did air quotes there. Did the voice recording get that? Air quotes around summary properties, right? So those ones that don't actually live in the database, right? That our object is smart enough to be able to concatenate things together in just the right way to show me the full name and the job title and department they're in and so on. All right, so the real magic happens in the code behind then, where so far what we've done is we added a fill dropdown asynchronous method, right, that we can just call whenever we want to fill the drop-down list, okay? And we just instantiate a department repository object, basically create a list of department objects called departments, just with an await call to our repository.getDepartment. Simple as that, and I'll just return the list of all the departments. This extra line of code here I did just to satisfy my usual approach of having a all option at the top of the drop-down list, right? And then, so because it's a nice simple list of department objects, I can just add my own, right? So I'll add my own here. The department ID is 0, which is allowed because 0 is still a valid integer even though the database will never make it with an int identity. And the department name cleverly has a space as the first character, so alphabetically it'll jump to the top of the list. Because you notice the other thing I can do here, when I assign it to the item source of the combo box, I can not only take the department's collection list, I can provide a link query to it as well, to put it in alphabetical order by department name, bubbling, okay, my all option to the very top. And then I'm calling that just right here after initialize component, okay, in the constructor for the page. So it should actually work. By the way, I had to, this is why I stopped earlier. I got an error message, a build message, because I didn't have the code in place for this event referred to in the XAML of the page. So now we have it there. We should be able to run this, see my client application running, and there we go. I have a drop-down list of all my departments, and away I go. So we'll start using them next. Okay, so pretty good progress. What we want to do now is actually add a similar asynchronous method to get the employees, right? So if this is complicated in any way, shape, or form, which really it's not, but it's only that I have the optional, my nullable int here for department ID, so I can pass one or not, depending on whether I want to filter or not, right? So and again, I just make a repository object. If, oh sorry, this is just creating the empty list of employees first, because C# doesn't like you to make it inside the if structure, right? So if I actually have a department to filter by, right, because remember with a nullable int, I can use that get value or default, okay? If it's above 0, then I know there actually is a real department they want to filter by. Otherwise, they don't. I just want to get all the employees, right? So that's my simple if structure here. So it's just a matter of calling each different method, okay? Just get employees or get employees by department, passing that default value or, well, value or default, I should say, of the department ID. And that's it. So the repository works after going, getting the data, and downloading it. When I'm done, I just set that to the item source of my list. Simple. Bada bing. And now I'm bada boom, right? Just set that to employee. Now, of course, I could think about sorting and ordering it as well if I wanted to. Clearly, you can see that. But, you know, for now, why worry, right? I'm just getting the data and showing it. Okay. Now, obviously, the selected index changed. That's where we're going to want to filter by a given department, right? What do you want to see the data for? Now, we'll build up the anticipation. We'll show you it working at the end now. Okay, so what do we want to do inside selected changed? Not much, right? The beautiful thing about the combo box is I can just go to the combo, grab the selected item, and because of that, let me emphasize this, because of this right here, oh, well, the same idea up here, sorry. Because each item is a, in this case, department. Same thing works. We'll be doing that with our lists of employees in next class, or the next week, right? I can just cast it to an actual department. So I don't have to worry about finding out anything about the selected index or the selected value or any, or which do I use, I don't know, right? I just grab it, whatever the selected item is, cast it to the object, right? So in this case, a department. So that's my selected department. So I'll show employees passing the department ID of that department object, the one that's selected in the drop-down list. Simple as that. Nothing else to it. Extra little bit of code to throw in here. Well, obviously I need to call my show employees, right? I'm calling it here, but you know, I might as well want to have it load with everybody in the first place. I could just throw that in here, but I'm used to using a different event. I'm used to using the page loaded event, although you know what, in this case it probably doesn't really matter. But let's just review how to make the page loaded event. Right? If I come over here, simplest thing is to go to the top, right, to the page, come over to the properties window, okay, go to my lightning bolt, and I will find a loaded event right here. Double click. Now it's added the reference, okay, in the XAML of the page and created my page loaded event. So I'll just show employees here, passing null because I don't want to filter by any department. Okay, and I think that should do the job. Now, obviously, you'll see why a grid view would be better because everything is just listed here. But I have my whole list of employees, okay, showing me the information. Because later on, the next step will be to, okay, be able to click on one, go to a different page where we see all the details, or where you can maybe edit them, okay, or go to a blank page where we can insert and define a new one to add and so on. But for now, this is all you have to do for Lab 4A. And let's just check. Can I filter for the accounting department? Yes, there we go. So everyone here is in the accounting department. Human resources, marketing, right? The list gets smaller and smaller, or anytime I want, I can just go back to all departments. And then I have the whole list again. And of course, does it work on the phone? And I'll pause the video while we wait for the for the emulator. All right. Well, thank you, Natia, for giving me permission to run the emulator. Okay, deploy is started. Deploy is deploying. Deploy is going. Something must be wrong with the recording. Everything is happening too slowly. Okay, something's happening. Honestly, it is. There we go. All right. And I can flick through all the employees that I have here. I can filter by department. So these are all people in information systems, etc., etc. And it's pulling all the data from my WebApi service running up on Azure somewhere in the south central United States, I think, or was it northeast? I can't remember. Although, you know what? I didn't know. Accidentally, the database itself, I believe, is in Southeast Asia because I wasn't careful. Oh, yeah. So, poor thing. It's actually pulling the data from somewhere, probably in Vietnam, and into the WebApi service running in Cincinnati or something, and then providing it to my phone emulator here in the classroom. And yet, it's pretty quick. Okay? All things considered. All right, quick demo. There you go. So.